we go. Kellen Pastore on your left, mono green aggro. Chris Muller on your right, mono red aggro. Let's take a look at the other matchups too real quick. Andrew Davis, blue white control in modern against Justin Miller playing Jund in modern. And then we got Porter Darby with Death and Taxes against Daniel Barkon playing Lens. As we are going to be underway here. It's a mountain. It's a Soulscar Mage, believe it or not. Yeah, the luckiest.
That is a fresh to death 7th edition Llanowar Elves.
It's the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
What?
You heard me.
What?
Mountain, Lightning Strike. See ya. In for 2.
That is one good way that Mono Red is able to slow down this Mono Green deck, killing off their mana creatures early. They don't have a ton of 2-drops, just Branchwalker and Heart of Kiran, I believe. And Heart of Kiran doesn't block if you take care of the early threats.
Yeah, 2-drops is something this deck is lacking. It also does have a copy. It also does have 4 copies of Scrap Heap Scrounger, but again, that's a 2-drop that can't really block. And you were going to see Earthshaker Kenra come down and attack here for 3. Mono Red off to a decent enough start as we'll head back over to Kellen Pastore.
This is one of the reasons why last week my teammate Phil Smith and I came up with a version of Mono Red that focused more on a Braid as the 2-mana removal spell. Just cards like Heart of Kiran are really awkward to play against. Not only are they good against things like Earthshaker Kenra or On-Crop Crasher because they can be crewed after the abilities, but at the same time, a Braid is necessary because it can actually kill the Heart of Kiran, where Lightning Strike doesn't really do a whole lot. So Heart of Kiran, very good against Red, very good at playing defense and offense since it has Vigilance.
Ronus the Indomitable has arrived.
Oh, there it is. The second Abrade.
Yeah, there is a timely Abrade, which is going to pump up Soulscar Mage and allow an attack here for 4. Ronus is a 3-mana 5/5 Death Touch Indestructible, which wanted to crew the Heart of Kiran, but it died. Ronus the Indomitable can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater, which I think Kellen now does, given the Steel Leaf Champion. Another target creature, of course, gets +2/+0 and gain trample in a turn for 2 colors and a green. We're seeing some new ones here, so now we'll take a look at Steel Leaf Champion. Is big. Is big.
He also hard to block.
True.
He do good blocking, though.
GGG. 5/4 can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Elf Knight.
Yeah, he's also riding a Kavu.
Yeah.
And that's tight. I kind of wondered what happened to the Kavu when they were doing the previews for Dominaria. But then, they came out with a few later, so it's okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. I like to see Kavu come back.
They used to be my jam.
Yeah. Kavu Chameleon. Or the Titan, of course. People love the Titan.
So this is the stage in the game where the Mono Red deck is going to start having some trouble. The Mono Green deck is just hitting all its land drops, playing bigger and better things. Going to stabilize at 8 life after fighting through 2 Lightning Strikes and 2 Abrades. Or, sorry, an Abrade and 2 Lightning Strikes. Just a 1/2 creature in play. Even if Chris Muller is able to play something like Hazoret the Fervent next turn, the indestructible Ronus from the other side is going to be able to contain it for now.
Ronus looks like it's starting to pick up in popularity a little bit here. Not a card you can play a ton of copies of. As an example, Kellen Pastore only playing 1 here in his main deck, but this one looks to be pretty good on the battlefield.
Yeah, slightly harder to turn on than something like Hazoret the Fervent, which the only requirement is to play a bunch of cheap stuff.
Harvester came in, gave Kellen 2 energy and the ability to maybe gain a little bit of life here soon enough. You saw Merfolk Branchwalker reveal a forest, put that on the battlefield, and then the Ronus, couple of lands out there include 2 copies of Hesep Oasis, the very powerful desert. You also see a green-black land out there. It's a Blooming Marsh for the rebuys on Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Yeah, Scrap Heap Scrounger, a particularly interesting card out of a normally mono green deck. With the prevalence of control decks, you really want an aggressive threat on turn 2. It has 3 power for 2, which is really good for shrinking the cost of Galta. But at the same time, just having a threat that you can continually bring back through removal spells, through combat damage, is really important for a deck as linear as the mono green aggro deck.
Lightning Strike looks like it's going to go upstairs.
Boom.
Soulscar Mage will, of course, become a 2/3 because of prowess. That'll beat Branchwalker in a fight. We're going to head back over to Kellen, who right now his goal is simply not to die. He'll pay 2. This is a Scrap Heap Scrounger. That will crew. Of course, that card can't block. We're also going to target that with the Oasis. And I think he's going to gain a whole bunch of life now, so he's going to spend an energy.
Yep. And he's also going to turn on Ronus to be able to attack this turn, pumping it up to 6 power. He's going to swing in for 11. That puts Muller all the way down to 4 life, and it bumped Kellen up to 11 from the lifelink.
Going to be a hard game for Kellen to lose now as we head back over to Chris. Chris will draw a card, having some difficulty finding the 4th land, sure, but it's these kind of large threats that are going to be difficult for his deck to beat, Todd.
Yeah, some people have suggested playing Fight with Fire out of the sideboard to help against things like Lear Dawnbringer, but it would also be good in this matchup as a 1-card answer to something as annoying as Steely Paladin on turn 2 or 3.
That's actually a good point. I think the Fight with Fire we'll see a little bit more play as we go.
Notably, it's also insanely good if you get hit with a Settle the Wreckage.
That's true. That's true. Hey, that's a real thing.
No, it is.
That's a real thing.
I mean, we saw yesterday the mono red Godfrey's Gift Goblin deck get up to 10, 11 mana or whatever against the blue eye controlled or Settle the Wreckages.
Yep.
So, it's not that hard.
Old Chain Whirler. Got a trigger, deal a little bit of damage everywhere.
Yeah, and kind of cool interaction here with Soulscar Mage. Soulscar says whenever non-combat damage happens to an opposing creature, that's dealt in -1/-1 counters, Chain Whirler does 1 to the face, but also 1 to all the opposing creatures. And since it's not combat damage, they all get shrunk a little bit.
Kellen says, I'm going to turn on the Aethers for Harvester, throw a desert at it, and kill you. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So Kellen Pastore is going to win game number 1 here over Chris Muller.
Boom.
Mono green aggro, very quickly up a game over mono red aggro. These players not wasting any time. We'll check our scoreboard when we come back. But first, a couple of messages from our sponsors. We are back, getting ready for game number 2 between Kellen Pastore and Chris Muller. It is mono green aggro versus mono red aggro. Tough matchup here for Chris, but it's a card that you mentioned here in Chris's sideboard, Todd, that I imagine you have some interest in. And 3 Fight with Fire. There are others from 3 Harsh Mentor, 2 Chandra Torture Defiance, 2 Abrade, 2 Magma Spray, 2 Aethers for Harvester, and a Glorybringer. But you want those Fight with Fires, my man?
Oh, for sure. Just 3 mana, kill a large creature is definitely something you want in this particular matchup. And again, it has some value in Settle the Wreckage matchups because once you are able to kick it, the 10 damage goes anywhere. So if you get hit with a Settle the Wreckage, you have this backup card that not only could kill Lear Dawnbringer, but also just finish off your opponent. The rest of the sideboard, I really like Chandra Torch of Defiance in this matchup. Just being able to pick off some of the middling creatures and provide some value later on is nice. I don't think you want more shock effects like Magma Spray. Abrade is fine because, of course, you did see Heart of Kirin and Aethers for Harvester in Game 1. And then Glorybringer, another sweet spot, deal 4.
other side of things here for Kellen. He's got 2 Lifecrafters Bestiary, 2 Sky Sovereign Council Flagship, 2 Nissa Vital Force, 2 Prey Upon, 2 Thrashing, a Brontodon, or old Brony. We got 2 Plummets, a Heroic Intervention, a Crushing Canopy, and a Death Gorge Scavenger. What do you like over there?
I really like Sky Sovereign Console Flagship, and I really like it in the main deck, and I'm surprised not to see it. It was one of the standout cards when I played with this deck for me. It's a 5-drop that is arguably better than something like Vergis Gearhulk, which is noticeably absent, I believe.
He's got a couple in the main, actually.
Oh, okay, so
yeah.
he has 2.
Yep.
Okay, so that switch is definitely the strain point on the 5-drop. Like, which one do you play? Aside from Sky Sovereign Console Flagship, I like Death Gorge Scavenger. Maybe a couple copies of Prey Upon, so you can pick off an early Bomat Courier or something like that. I don't think I would bother with much of anything else.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They'll be underway here in game number 2 in just a moment. And the 2 players that are getting ready for game number 2 as well are Justin Miller and Andrew Davis as the Jund player. That's on your right. Game number 1 against Blue-White Control. So we're getting ready here for game number 2 between Mono Green Aggro and Mono Red Aggro. We'll see if we can figure out what's going on with lands and Death and Taxes soon enough, but that is sometimes a difficult matchup for lands, as going to the 2020, not a great plan.
No, but Punishing Fire is very good. The problem for the lands deck is that the Death and Taxes deck has so many ways to interact with them, whereas normally the Fair decks and Legacy don't really have that many, just Wasteland for the most part. But the Death and Taxes deck not only has like Flicker Wisp off an Aether Vial to blink your token, they can also use Rish Import to slow you down in the early turns, as well as even Thalia to make Punishing Fire like significantly worse and slower. So there's a lot of interaction from the Death and Taxes side. I think Death and Taxes is favored, but it is certainly a close match.
Death and Taxes starting to pick up a little bit in popularity. If you think about what won last week in Atlanta, the Legacy player Jonathan Joe playing White-Red Taxes.
Oh, yeah.
Bit of a red splash there for Direfleet, Daredevil, and a few other cards.
Magus of the Moon, particularly good.
Yeah. So maybe the red splash in Death and Taxes might be the way to go moving forward for you Death and Taxes fans. But for our standard matchup, no real splashing going on here. Mono green aggro, mono red aggro. Just a small touch.
Just a scrappy.
Just a little small splash for Kellen. I'm sure it comes up a non-zero amount, but for Chris, he's keeping it real. Taking a look at that mana base: 22 mountains, 1 scavenging grounds.
The man knows what he's trying to do.
No.
Nah, he ain't messing around. The 1 scavenger grounds, you know, he's dipping his toe in. For the most part,
that's his splash.
We're playing some mountains.
Yeah.
And notably, very few deserts in these new mono-red aggro decks. In order to cast Goblin Chain Whirler on turn 3 more reliably, you know, in the past we have seen, you know, Grasping Dunes in a recent Grand Prix winning deck list, as well as multiple copies of Scavenger Grounds and the usual Deal 1 Desert.
Yeah, the old Sun-Scorched Desert, you would see that sometimes. And, you know, way back in the day, which wasn't actually that long ago.
We don't talk about that one.
We don't talk about Rainy Nap Ruins?
No, because everyone wants it, and no one can have it.
No one should have it.
Rainy Nap Ruins.
A little too good.
Pieces.
Daniel Barkon got a win game number 1 here, reported Darby. Lands up a game over Death and Taxes, so the team of Barkon, Davis, and Pastore currently leading things as we go. Looks like Kellen may be taking a mulligan here.
And with Chris Muller on the play, this mulligan, every mulligan is important because, you know, sometimes the mono red player will have to use 2 burn spells to kill one of the larger creatures. And, you know, if you're already behind on cards, like having your opponent be a little behind is also important.
Kellen going to scry now after keeping the 6. That top card's going to become the bottom one now. Chris will start things off. Let's see if he's got a 1-drop. He had Soulscar Mage last game. He has Bobo, looks like this game.
Oh,
he's going to start with Soulscar Mage, though.
No, he didn't read my article. Always Bomat Courier. Always.
It'll be a Blooming Marsh.
It's not 100% true, but every single card under Bomat Courier is important. He did side in Magma Spray, so he does have a cheap way to answer this Llanowar Elves.
Yeah, Kellen's ready to see his Llanowar Elves die. Now here's Bobo, and now here's an attack for 3, given the prowess on the Soulscar Mage.
So if Muller had switched the order in which he played his creatures, he would have dealt 1 less damage. Let's be honest with that. But is that 1 damage worth an extra card under Bomat Courier? And that's the, you know, the real challenge in the early turns of sequencing your creatures.
Let's take a look at Greenbelt Rampager. That card's in the battlefield now here for Kellen. It's an interesting one. Maybe it's just face up. Yeah, okay, it's just face up, something that could be coming, excuse me. But we do still want to take a look at the elephant, as there's a Harsh Mentor.
Yeah, it's namely in the deck as a way to continually crew all your vehicles for very cheap. I really like it when you're playing like through 5 to 7 vehicles. Kellen's main deck only has 4. But for the most part, it can just be a 3-mana 3/4, which is not too bad. It's, thrashing Bronodon without the ability to kill artifacts or enchantments. But it can also continually activate an Aethersphere Harvester if you manage your energy correctly.
Thrashing Bronodon, the reveal there from Merfolk Branchwalker. You saw a Harsh Mentor come down there for Chris. However, things are getting more difficult for Chris because, hey, most of the time, Todd, green creatures are just bigger than red ones, and that's what we're seeing here yet again.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Soulscar Mage gums up the works a little bit because, a single shock can shrink the Greenbelt Rampager into a 1/2, for example. I'm not really sure what the best attack here is. You don't really want to lose your Harsh Mentor because it'll punish the mono green deck for crewing a vehicle, for example. But it also it deals them too if they activate Hash Up Oasis or any other activated ability.
Well, there is the Oasis. And it looks like old Branchy's going to be coming in here. So Kellen Pastore must be feeling pretty good about this game if he's attacking right now. This looks like it's going to be a Magma Spray to take care of the Merfolk Branchwalker. So that creature will be exiled for good. Actually, it'll be interesting. Yes, I think it's still, even though there's a Soulscar Mage on the battlefield.
I don't even know.
I think that's the case. That's actually what Kellen was asking about. Looks like our Table Spotter helping out there, too.
So one of the cards like Magma Spray, it might actually be Magma Spray, specifically says if the damage is dealt, one of them says if the creature dealt damage this way, goes to the graveyard, it gets exiled. And another one says if it would die this turn, it gets exiled. I think Incendiary Flow was the card that did not work right with
Soulscar Mage?
With Soulscar Mage.
Well, Magma Spray Fortune says if that creature dies this turn.
Yes.
So, exiled. Easy does it.
You go home.
Brontodon is here with a mana available to blow up Bomat Courier or some other artifact or enchantment that may come from Chris Muller. We'll also take a look at old Bronte, too. There's this mono green deck. We haven't seen it all weekend. I know we saw it a little bit last weekend in Atlanta. A couple copies doing well on the SCG Tour. 3-mana, 3/4, Dinosaur. Sacrifice Thrashing Brontodon. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. We've seen cards like this before. Most notably, Kosali Pride Mage. This is a bigger and beefier version.
I mean, that's what dinosaurs are, right? Just bigger, better versions of other animals.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Just ask the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, man. That hurts. I don't even care about the Toronto Raptors, personally. But
neither do we.
You are cold. You're a cold man. Wow.
Sorry. Not sorry.
We have fun.
Let's go back over to Chris.
Braid takes down the Aethersphere Harvester. Even though the Harsh Mentor is kind of keeping it in check from gaining too much life, the 5 toughness is pretty tough to deal with.
Here's Goblin Chain Whirler. Going to knock down these large green creatures to more manageable size. They're both 2/3s now instead of 3/4s. Though, still tough to get through, as all Chris can do is pass the turn back over to Kellen.
I mean, if Kellen doesn't have a follow-up here that can block Goblin Chain Whirler, the 3/3 first striking creature can easily attack next turn without fear.
It's true. Little first strike damage.
Yep. And again, the interaction between Soulscar Mage, Goblin Chain Whirler, a very powerful interaction. And one of the reasons why you're seeing way more Soulscar Mages in these mono-red decks than Fanatical Firebrand, which was picking up a lot of steam right before Dominaria was released.
Yeah, Fanatical Firebrand definitely was the more popular of the two. Now, less so, unless you're playing like the mono-red gift deck. But that's a different deck entirely than this take on mono-red aggro.
This is more your classic mono-red aggressive deck.
Looks like we're doing a quick check on some Oracle text right now. See how some card interactions will be working. But for those of you just joining us, here's the battlefield. Kellen Pastore at 14. He's got a 2-3 Greenbelt Rampager, a 2-3 Thrashing Brontodon, 2 Energy from the Aethersphere Harvester that's in the graveyard, and a couple of lands out there, some of which do tap for black mana to return Scrap Heap Scrounger, though I'd be surprised if that card's in his deck after sideboard. And it looks like he's going to be using his Hesep Oasis, which he'll take 2 from, to turn old Brontodon into a bigger creature.
It has 5 power and 6 toughness, crashing in. This is a fairly aggressive attack by Kellen, but I do like it. The 2-3 Greenbelt Rampager is still kind of holding back the rest of the team that's not Goblin Chainwhirler. And if he has a follow-up here, Prey Upon, that's a nice one.
That's not bad at all.
It does get shrunk by the Soulscar Mage, though. That's... But he sacrifices it before it dies. It still has a little bit of toughness left over from the Hesep Oasis. Nice play by Kellen Pastore.
Hey, he asked for the Oracle text. Now he knows.
Knows half the battle.
Well done. Well done.
They're not all winners, but some of them are pretty good sometimes. Another, On-Crab Crasher. This is a nice one here. This is going to allow Muller to attack in for 6 damage and exerting the On-Crab to make it so the Greenbelt Rampager can't block.
No follow up, Soulscar Mage. Chris is out of cards. We head back over to Kellen. Kellen needs a little help now. He's certainly in burn range. Okay. That's a big creature.
All right.
There's Virtuous Gearhulk.
I really hope he just draws Galta and plays it next turn. It's like, all right, I have a 2-3. Well, now I have 400 power.
Siri wants to distribute all these counters on the Gearhulk. Looks like a couple over to Greenbelt, and now Greenbelt's going to be attacking. I do like the attack here from Kellen because the plan here is, I'm trying to win the game. Sitting back isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, the On-Crab Crasher can't attack next turn. There's only 3 attackers. And since Muller doesn't have any cards in hand, he needs a peeled big spell here to actually threaten lethal. On-Crab Crasher number 2 would be lethal. That's about it. 5 with Fire doesn't quite take care of the Virtuous Gearhulk at a 6-6. Something like Lightning Strike, I guess, would be lethal as well, since it would pump the Soulscar Mages. Got a few. A Braid would also do it, since Virtuous Gearhulk is, in fact, an artifact.
Take a look at the Oasis there. And we'll see what comes next here for Chris.
My guess is he did not draw away to lethal this turn.
That is my guess as well. That's a good read, Todd.
Yeah.
That's a good read.
As a mono red player, you need to know which card you can draw at any point to just kill your opponent. And Chris seems like he knows what he's doing.
What is this? Heart of Kieran right off the top. Pass the turn back. 2 blockers available here for Kellen still.
He does need to be a little careful. Activating the Heart of Kieran does deal him 2 damage with the Harsh Mentor.
Very true. Let's take a look at old Harsh Mentor if we can. No, a lot of players were very excited upon this card being previewed. Still definitely a good card. More of a role player is the 2-mana Human Cleric. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land on the battlefield, if it isn't a mana ability, Harsh Mentor deals 2 damage to that player.
It makes me really mad that Harsh Mentor doesn't affect Planeswalkers. It would have been a fine card for the mono red deck to beat the Saheeli Rai combo when it was legal for, the few months.
Yep. That's a mountain.
I think specifically it might have been too good against Planeswalkers because even a tick up would be a -1.
Yeah, it'd be a lot to handle. Didn't get a great look with Kellen Drew. I think it may have been another copy of Heart of Kieran. If that's the case, that's not great.
Legend, wait for it.
You just tell me when you're ready.
Dairy.
Yep, there it is.
I mean, neither player progressed their board on either of these turns. I think Kellen is supposed to just keep sitting back, hope that Chris draws one more brick, and then Kellen draws something big. He can't really afford to attack, puts him basically dead on board thanks to the Harsh Mentor and the Heart of Kieran. There's another brick.
Doesn't look like a great draw for Chris. I can let you know up top in our legacy match, Daniel Barkon and Porter Darby getting ready for game number 3. Lance, Death, and Taxes all tied up. There's a mountain there for Chris. He'll pass turn back over to Kellen. Little draw go here between mono green and mono red aggro. You don't really expect this, but that's where we are.
Please tell me that was another Heart of Kieran. Heart of Hearts.
Oh, boy.
Well, it was not. He wouldn't be attacking here with a Scarehawk if it was a Heart of Kieran. I'll tell you that much.
Looks like the Gearhawk wants to get in for 6. And I am with Todd. It was not another Heart of Kieran. I am led to believe. All right. Chris is going to fall down to 5. That is a Greenbelt Rampager. And that is going to enter the battlefield. Big old elephant.
Going to eat up that last 2 energy, stay in play. It's not a May ability. You can't just keep playing it to gain energy. Not that you'd really want to at this point.
I think that may have been the mountain.
Land.
Yeah.
Well, if Kellen wants to get aggressive here next turn, he can just activate Heart of Kieran, pump it with Hashtag Oasis. That'll deal him 4 damage, put him within lethal of shock range. But I think shock is actually lethal right now. With the on-crop Crasher forcing him to activate Heart of Kieran to have 2 blockers. A shock would be enough with the 2 pumps from Soulscar Mage to finish the job.
So it seems like just going for it is ideal then.
Yeah. So going for it seems like the play. You could just straight up lose to an Abrade.
That's true. That's true.
You know, he would have had to draw on the exactly Abrade this turn. Otherwise, he would have used Abrade on the Vergil's Gearhulk long ago and started attacking.
Abrade's got plenty of targets out there. Heart of Kieran. Deal 3 damage to something. Soulscar Mage shrinking it. And, of course, as you mentioned, killing Vergil's Gearhulk outright. So now it's up to Kellen to kind of just go down the checklist once he gets his turn of, like, what can I do to try to win the game this turn? What am I trying to play around? So on and so forth. And if he does go down the checklist of Shock and Abrade, I think he'll realize, and Lightning Strike obviously would kill him too,
right?
That he doesn't really need to play around anything.
No, he was dead to virtually any non-creature spell. For a while, he was dead to a few different creatures, but his opponent just hasn't done anything for like 4 turns straight. I think you just have to assume he doesn't have it, and you got to go for it. Oh, he's forcing the action here. So if Kellen just activates Heart of Kieran, blocks 2 creatures, you know, all he has to do next turn is just attack. I'm pretty sure this is not lethal. He's going to go to 4 from the Harsh Mentor, block the 2 big ones, take 2 down to 2.
There's Mountain, and that is going to do it. Kellen Pastore is going to win this match over Chris Muller 2-0. Mono green aggro going to take care of mono red aggro, much like Todd Anderson did predict. Seemed like a very difficult matchup for Chris, and it was. So we are going to get ready here for Game 3 of Modern between Andrew Davis and Justin Miller. That's Blue White Control versus Jund.
Jund guy.
But first, a few messages from our sponsors. We are back to watch game number 3 between Andrew Davis and Justin Miller. It's blue-white control. It's Jund. Both these players are tied up. You saw Kellen Pastore earlier get the job done with mono green aggro against Chris Muller playing mono red aggro. And lands and death and taxes are certainly in a third and final one. But we want to turn our attention to modern, where Justin, unfortunately for him, is taking a mulligan down to 6.
Mulligan to 6, not that bad in modern. You have a lot of really powerful cards that can dig you out of holes. Mulligan to 5, however, things start to get a little dicey. Maybe you miss a land drop or two. You don't really get to play the same kind of magic that your opponent is playing.
All right, it looks like Justin is happy enough. He will scry. That top card, we're going to see where it's going to go. Looks like it's going to go to the bottom. Green light given. Let's play some Magic, my friends.
Let's take a quick look-see here at this blue-white control deck. How many copies of Teferi are in this deck? 0?
0?
He's using the OG, Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Boo.
Freshly unbanned.
Boo.
You know, go back home. You know, we don't need you.
That card stinks. Boo.
That is incredibly insulting. You know, I don't have delicate sensibilities, but if I did, that would offend them.
A Scavenging Ooze here for Justin Miller. Andrew Davis has a Hallowed Fountain, and now he has a Glacial Fortress. We go back over to Justin. He's picked up a copy of Dark Confidant. An attack for 2. Going to bring Andrew Davis down to 17. Treetop Village.
Scavenging is not the best form of pressure in this matchup. Tarmogoyf is pretty good, especially when backed up by a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition of Kozilek. But Scavenging is, you know, there's not usually that many creatures in the graveyard. Blue-Eye Control is good at exiling things. You know, so most of the creatures that the Scavenging is going to be eating are going to be things that get countered, like that Scavenging is from earlier, or things that get hit by a Supreme Verdict.
You did see that second copy of Scavenging Ooze get hit by the first copy of Mana Leak there from Andrew Davis. Davis will play a copy of Field of Ruin, and it looks like he may be passing the turn back over to Miller, and he will. Miller's third land, by the way, was a copy of Treetop Village.
Yeah, it's one you don't see too much in Jund these days. It's a 4 of in most of the black-green straight versions of this deck. It doesn't help fix your colors like a Raging Ravine, but it does cost, you know, one or two less mana, you know, depending on which one you're trying to play it over.
And it looks like we have a winner on the top shelf, my friends. It is going to be Daniel Barkon winning the match over Porter Darby 2-1. So Lance is going to take care of Death and Taxes. And we may watch a couple more turns of this one as the beautiful island has been placed on the battlefield.
I want to see the conclusion of this match. I just found out Andrew Davis has 4 copies of Terminus in his modern deck.
Really?
Yeah. It seems pretty good with Jace the Mind Sculptor, not going to lie. He also has a bunch of Opt, so, you know, he can cast it on his opponent's turn pretty easily if he has it on top of his deck.
We're seeing new builds of blue-white control in Modern right now, folks. People are just trying some new things. Teferi has definitely opened up what players can do, and now we see a Gideon going to slow down that Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm in love with the use of Field of Ruin on the previous turn. You saw Justin didn't have access to black mana, leading off with Raging Ravine, Forest, into Treetop Village. And the Field of Ruin, while it prevents 3 damage from the attack, which is important, obviously, to protect your life total, keeping your opponent off of black mana is equally as important, I would think.
And Gideon sitting on 4 right now as we head back over to Andrew Davis.
I guess Andrew feels that, you know, if he's going to be using stuff like Path to Exile, keeping his opponent on black mana is not going to be that easy.
I presume with the fact that the game is going to go long, or at least longer, that Justin will draw black mana eventually, right? Let's see what we have here.
Right. Looks like Scavenging is trying to eat Opt, and I believe that Andrew is going to try to Snapcaster Opt in response. It's possible he just wants to let it go, though.
Oh, there's your Snapcaster Mage. And here is your Opt. Well, Scooz will also eat the leak.
Oh, sure.
And now Dark Confidant will reveal a Liliana of the Last Hope. A very nice card in this matchup.
Yeah, doesn't quite have the second black mana source to cast it, though. It would be very good right now to hit that Snapcaster Mage with the freebie, attack the Gideon for 2 with the Dark Confidant, since Scavenging Ooze is, of course, still locked down from the Gideon's +1.
Gideon looking pretty good here. Gideon, definitely a card that has helped put this blue-white control deck on the map. I know some players, of course, prefer Jeskai, but for blue-white control fans, they really do like Gideon as a win condition and a way to prolong the game.
You got to be kind of a psychopath to prefer Path to Exile over Lightning Bolt as a removal spell. Giving your opponent a land is gross.
There is Dark Confidant, gonna bring Gideon down to 3.
Is it time?
All right. Worse than Teferi. Here's Jace the Mind Sculptor. Gonna draw 3 cards. Not all that impressive. Put 2 back.
Doesn't seem that worse than Teferi right now. That Gideon is locking down the Scavenging Ooze, so the Dark Confidant itself won't be able to kill the Jace outright. Fetch Line going to shuffle away 2 lands. He's already gotten like 6 lands or whatever in his hand.
Oh, Jace the Mediocre Sculptor. Back over to Justin. Scavenging Ooze going to turn into a 3/3. Confidant trigger. See what Justin does reveal. It'll be a copy of Verdant Catacombs. There's a second black mana source.
Yeah, it's a turn too late. If he had drawn a second black source last turn, he could have Liliana +1 to kill the Snapcaster Mage and then use Lightning Bolt to finish off the Gideon alongside the Dark Confidant. Now he's facing down 2 Planeswalkers, and he can't get either of them off the battlefield, I don't believe.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher. He's got multiple copies of Liliana. Looks like also a Kitchen Finks in hand and another copy of Dark Confidant. Does Justin Miller, but no clean way, it appears, for Justin to get Jace or Gideon off the battlefield.
He can just keep casting creatures, but that's just going to eventually run him into a Terminus from a Jace the Mind Sculptor. It's not ideal. Terminus is looking like it's going to hold a lot of value in this particular scenario if he hits it, though, because Kitchen Finks does not, care about Supreme Verdict very much.
Yeah. Kitchen Finks, it's persist against Terminus, not so much. Here's 3 mana. This is going to be, looks like Liliana the Veil, but he might go to Liliana the Last Hope. Just depends on which Liliana Justin wants to play right now, honestly. Got 2 options, both good.
Yeah, I don't foresee Liliana the Veil being that great here. Justin knows that Andrew has at least 1 land somewhere floating around in his hand, probably, because he saw multiple lands with the Inquisition of Kozilek earlier.
Fulminator Mages, plural, are going to go to the graveyard. And now we'll see what Justin is going to bring on back. It looks like Fulminator Mage. So that's back in the hand. And now Dark Confidant is going to knock Jace down to 1. Justin Miller will pass the turn. Andrew Davis will sacrifice a fetch land.
Saw a lot of people, once they came out with the new Planeswalker rule where you can have multiple Planeswalkers with the same name, joke that the blue-eye control deck was just going to become a Gideon tribal deck.
Yeah.
Because it had Gideon of the Trials, Gideon Jura, as well as Zendikar one.
Gideon Ally of Zendikar.
Ally of Zendikar.
It's time for Andrew Davis to brainstorm. He's got Jace for now 2 turns. I always find to be the flashpoint in Modern is if you have Jace for 3 turns, you're probably going to win the game. It's just been hard to keep around for 3 turns for most players. 2 cards will go back here for Andrew Davis. That is Celestial Colony. Gideon going to slow down old Scavenging Ooze once again, it looks like.
I like this attack.
Oh, actually, we're going to go attacking.
As long as he's attacking the Liliana.
He's actually going to go at Justin.
Okay.
Pass the turn back.
Just going to try to kill him.
All right. Scavenging Ooze is going to eat a creature. Looks like as it turns into a 4/4. Reveal with Confidant. That'll be a Thoughtseize. Miller's going to fall down to 11 once again. Now he'll draw a card. It's a copy of Tarmogoyf. There's a Verdant Catacombs. That's be land number 5 there for Justin Miller. who's starting to have a stock hand, and he looks like he wants to start off with a Thoughtseize.
Kind of interesting scenario there. If Justin wanted to, he actually had the option to move to declare attacker step. That kind of forces Andrew's hand to use the Cryptic Command as a tap ability. And that gives Justin the option to activate Raging Ravine after the tap ability resolves, unless Andrew decides to bounce the Raging Ravine with the secondary mode. So, you know, it gives your Cryptic Command opponent the ability to potentially make a mistake. Then you get to use your Raging Ravine. Maybe not so much. The Field of Ruin on the other side, keeping that in check. Maybe he's just given up on ever activating Raging Ravine.
Yeah, I think that's much further down the road now at this point. Here's Field of Ruin, too. Take care of the old Ravine. This will allow both players to go get a land. Another island there for Andrew Davis. A beautiful one there, an unstable island.
This should still be during the declare attacker step. He wanted to use the Field of Ruin then. That would give him access to 4 mana after it resolved. He's still able to use Cryptic Command as a tap draw card. Protect both of his Planeswalkers.
I think that may be the plan here for Andrew Davis. There is a very powerful Cryptic Command. Looks like it's going to be Bounce Liliana. Tap both creatures.
Okay.
Now it's going to be time to replay something here for Justin Miller. Can replay one of these Lilianas. Can play a Fulminator Mage. A couple of options.
I think a Terminus here would shut the door.
Doesn't have it yet, though.
We did get a fresh shuffle off of the Field of Ruin, but Andrew having a tough time finding that Terminus.
Going to put 2 cards back now is Andrew. Looks like he found another fetch land there in Flooded Strand. Yep, so he can continue to put together some very nice brainstorms here via Jace the Mind Sculptor. Now that'll be a Path to Exile on Kitchen Finks. I am curious to see if Andrew's going to continue to get aggressive here with Gideon. He just answered my question. Knock you down to 7. Could even fire up a Colonnade, too.
Yeah, he's not playing stuff like Lightning Bolt, though, so the odds of him being able to deal the last 3 damage without going through combat is very small.
That's what Dark Confidant's for.
Your
old pal.
Dude, that's my boy.
He's going to backfire on you.
He does that quite a bit.
Yeah. Let's see what Dark Confidant's going to reveal this time. Oof. Down to 5. Tarmogoyf is powerful, but not right now. Another Dark Confidant drawn.
So many creatures in hand.
That's what blue-white control loves. You having creatures as here's Cryptic Command again. Tap all your things, draw a card before I will fetch. This is going to make it so that he's going to draw something new.
Yeah, he did put 2 lands back on top, flooding out a little bit, but the power of Jace the Mind Sculptor making sure that he doesn't flood out too badly.
And actually, Andrew says, I'm going to get a basic Plains, then resolve Cryptic Command, tap, draw.
Terminus. Terminus.
Well, we know
he might not even cast it if he draws off the Miracle, because Justin still probably needs to put more creatures on the battlefield this turn. Is it 5, facing down a potential Celestial Colonnade, but that can be taken care of through the Fulminator Mage.
There is a Fulminator Mage that will resolve. Is there anything else for Justin Miller to do?
Tarmadork. Cool.
Well, there that is.
There's another one. Nice.
Let's head on back over to Andrew Davis now here. He's taking a look at his graveyard. Various Cryptic Commands and Path to Exiles and all that jazz. Seems like a tough matchup here for Justin Miller. Once Andrew's able to get his feet set with Jason Gideon, which he's been able to do this game. Tarmogoyf checking in at 4-5. That is not a Terminus. Here's a Brainstorm.
My expert analysis, it's not Terminus.
Ah, Sphinx's Revelation. Now we're talking.
He doesn't really even need extra cards at this point, though. He just needs very specific things. Another Cryptic Command would be insanely good. you know, Supreme Verdict's also very good. Hey, it isn't. He drew a miracle. It's a Terminus.
Verge is going to clear up all the knuckleheads. This will allow Gideon to keep on getting in.
Rest in Peace is looking pretty appealing right now, too,
Yep.
actually. Although it doesn't seem to have great synergy with Search for Escanta, but, you know.
Huh, that's true. Gideon, come on in.
Of course, only tapping the 1 mana because he floated mana from the Celestial Colonnade as it died.
Justin Miller down to 1. That means that Verdant Catacombs? Nope. Overgrown Tomb, you're going to be getting the battlefield tapped. Thank you much. Dark Confidant, I don't think is what you want to play. Here is Tarmogoyf today. We'll see what the follow-up is. It is going to be a Dark Confidant.
Well, it blocks pretty well.
Yeah. Chump Block City. Let's go back over to Andrew Davis, who's going to sacrifice a polluted Delta. His team got the win already. Looking for the clean sweep here before they get ready for round number 12. Always good to get a little bit of extra practice in, too, if you can.
Oh, they're playing for our sake, too.
And there's a Vendilion click to end things here for the
That good?
team of Barkon, Davis, and Pastore.